Brr, it sure is chilly on this train to or from Korea or somewhere.
Hey YouTubers, welcome to Never Had the Pleasure, where we watch a movie that we've never seen before.
Today we're talking about Snowpiercer.
We are doing it because there's a new TV show. Seems like their attempt at like Westworld or Walking Dead. That's debuting fairly shortly.
So right now we're going to go over the context around it, what we're expecting, and right after we'll unpack our viewing experience. How are you coming into this? Are you stoked?
I am optimistic. We both watched Parasite. Best picture from last year. We were both pretty underwhelmed, and I think to a certain extent it was a case where like the hype had gotten so high. Oh, it defies genre.
Yeah, and I was just kind of like, what
it
are
like
people...
touches on other genres, but like is a thriller to me.
I came out of it thinking this is what people think is like an audacious social commentary. Like,
exactly.
But that's not necessarily its fault. It had the messaging that it wanted, and the internet might have amplified.
Yeah, even though I wasn't like super hyped on Parasite, he's a director that people really like, and Parasite is just one of the movies that he's done that's supposed to be really good, and this has definitely different style. It's of a different world. If I'm gonna like Bong Joon-ho, this could be it.
I'm on the same page. I would say I'm cautiously optimistic. The vibe I get is that Okja is the like high watermark for fans. Broader audiences seem to like Parasite better. And that's not uncommon with filmmakers that have like a dedicated fan base. Like they prefer something where a broader audience might like something else. They don't seem to like Snowpiercer as much. His more hardcore fans, which I would take to mean it's a little less bongy, less of his trademarks.
A little more commercial, which is maybe the mode that I will like him in.
That's entirely possible.
It's not considered the best movie of the decade or anything, but I know it's got a good reputation.
We're both moderate to high Hunger Games fans of the movies in particular. Again, like not the best movies of the decade or anything. They definitely started out strong. I'm a total sucker for any kind of class warfare or class commentary in a movie, like to the extent that I liked The Last Jedi.
Sean loves the Maze Runner.
My bedroom is just wall-to-wall Maze Runner posters.
Divergence. Still waiting on that third one.
It'll keep. My optimism is rooted in that I like this kind of...
for this genre.
Yeah, this kind of like parable. And the performers, like Chris Evans isn't the most amazing, like he's not going to knock your socks off with some monologue. But, I mean, like, prove me wrong, Chris. You could be number 2 Chris.
See Hemsworth in this? I guess that's the whole idea with these guys.
Yeah, I guess. Oh,
can't see Pratt in this, though.
Oh, yeah, no, Chris Evans is Chris, too. I downgraded Chris Pratt.
And I know you're not a Pine fan. I wonder if his fans are, like, lumberjacks, you know?
Maybe they're Pine Beetles. What would they be for the other Chris's?
Pratt Fallers?
Mm-hmm, yeah. They've fallen for Pratt. Yeah, I like that.
Evan Almightiers?
Yeah, I like that, too.
And Hemsworth, 2 in the bush. Oh boy.
So yeah, like I'm excited for the world that he constructs, hopefully.
Seems like kind of a simple plot in like the action genre, but like it's got enough room for some unique touches.
Yeah.
Unique commentary.
For sure.
What do you know about the plot?
It's sort of like class warfare set on Snow Earth. The people controlling the train, having all the power and luxury, and the people in the back, like, I guess basically deciding they've had enough.
Gotta progress through these classes.
I'm a little skeptical on the concept going in, like, why is the train the one thing in the world that can function?
I think
and that's the kind of thing you just have to, like, accept.
Yeah.
But I do think it's kind of dumb. Wouldn't they, like, be living underground or something?
This train exists in a world where it's like Pangea again. Or like Panem.
Panem?
Like the Hunger Games. Not your favorite TV show of all time.
I want to see the world. I'll become a Pan Am stewardess. With a face like that, you'll find a husband in a couple of months.
This kind of class warfare parable was pretty popular around that time. And I tend to like those movies.
Something was going on there. Definitely seems to be part of a moment in recent motion picture history where these dystopian.
Yeah, Marvel even got in on it with Captain America Winter Soldier. And I guess that kind of brings us to Chris Evans, who is, I think, the finest Captain America that you could hope to find, but maybe not the greatest actor.
I can't really judge too much. I've seen him in The Avengers and Knives Out, where he's playing a broad character. He definitely worked in the ensemble.
It was nice to see him as like a mustache twirler.
Have you seen him in things outside of Marvel?
I guess like Fantastic Four when I was a kid. There's a really cap on the acting.
I mean, like, is he Brando? I don't think so.
I've never heard about this movie that Chris Evans tanks it.
It seems like more self-serious, like leader type, which kind of touches on some of the Captain America stuff, but I'm sure is more grounded and probably more boring. But we'll see. The only thing you've seen from Bong Joon-ho is Parasite, right?
I saw The Host when it first came out. The only memory I have of it is pretty consistent with my take on Parasite. It's not a knock on him, it's just what I like, but I don't like the tone that he seems to want to go for. Kind of like prestige drama overlaid with broad pratfally or slapsticky sitcom comedy.
He often seems to be working in genre stuff. Like The Host is like a monster movie. Snowpiercer is
A
sci-fi,
action,
fantasy, action. Parasite, kind of just like a thriller. I'm not opposed to like a smart take on those genres from the perspective of another culture. I think you kind of nailed it on the head there. It isn't really having the fun of those genres, but like also it has like the broad comedy in it that like doesn't really land with me usually.
For me, it undercuts what he's trying to go for. Like, I'm thinking specifically in Parasite, the like rich younger dad. He's like talked with his wife about how the old dad smells like a poor person. They're at like a pretty pivotal scene at the end. Suspense is ratcheted up and there's some violence going on, and the dad just makes this like, "P.U., what's that smell?" face. And I was just like, this isn't working for me. It's obviously something that he's doing on purpose because it happens across his work. He's getting what he wants. I just don't like it. But I would say that like Effie Trinket in the Hunger Games has kind of like teed me up for that kind of buffoonish tone of comedy in like this kind of sci-fi class parable. The Hunger Games character names are just like Seneca, whatever.
Plutarch Heavensby.
Plutarch Heavensby.
Peeta, what's his last name?
Bread tosser.
Katniss Everdeen.
Yeah, Team Ganess.
I'm not opposed to these movies on paper, but I agree with you when it comes to the tone.
I checked out the core stats panel on Wikipedia because I like to know the super basics. And I noticed that this movie is over 2 hours long, which I don't think bodes like super well. It's not an original story. There's a source material for it. I think like a graphic something. So there's always the temptation to go longer because even if it's a graphic novel, like you're still having to condense a lot more information than is typically in a movie script.
Maybe this film won't feel bloated, but if it does, maybe the TV show will be a better format for this story.
Yeah, that having been said, movies in one setting tend to get called, oh, it was a good script, but it felt so stage-bound. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've read that about Dial M for Murder, or The Lady Vanishes, which is a Hitchcock movie set on a train. But I've like never had a problem with a movie that feels a little stagey. It's just like a kind of movie that a movie can be. But I do think for a ongoing series, there is a greater risk of having the setting get stale. For a movie, I didn't think Parasite was anything all that special, really. As a visual stylist, he's never really done anything that wowed me.
I think this is maybe an opportunity for him to do that because it's taking place in a very stylized world.
It's an opportunity, but I'd also say like the pressure's on because it's all set on this one train. You'd have to put some work in to keep it visually interesting. I hope he can do that.
From what I know, there will probably be like a stark contrast between like train cars that they're living in and the higher classes and sort of the extravagance. The Hunger Games is essentially what I'm expecting here. I don't know if they're gonna have the same like cartoonish hair and makeup, but
the capital. I guess I also don't know like aesthetically if in this class structure, the rich are like actually really opulently rich in the manner of the capital, or if they're just like rich for a post-apocalyptic train.
I think it's more the first, which I think is part of the fun of this movie.
Yeah, like that bodes well for visual variety.
Yeah. I'm expecting the visual flair of like a Lemony Snicket book cover.
Cool,
I can
yeah, that'd be
easily
nice.
see the orphans hopping on this train and having to like make their way through.
That's a sensible
seems of that
template
world.
to work from, yeah.
The other lead in this movie is Tilda Swinton. I am guessing is some sort of like representative of the upper class or like the president of this train nation. So maybe she's a little bit more buttoned up.
I think her hair is very orange in this.
She maybe has like a Stark Bob or something.
A Stark Bob.
Kind of like Julia Roberts in Mother's Day.
That I'm not familiar with. But
Take a short vacation here.
oh my god. Is that from the movie? She looks like she's playing like Mary Jane in a high school production of, what's the Spider-Man musical called?
Turn off
the dark. She looks worse than Bryce Dallas Howard in Jurassic World.
Yeah.
So I guess with her, that's like her real hair.
People are like so yappy about Tilda Swinton, and that's cool.
Like you're happy for people, but you're not.
I just don't tend to like get fanatical in that way. She's good, especially at like these more broad characters.
I like that she has these like two very starkly different modes that she works in. There's like the Wes Anderson mode, and there's the we need to talk about Kevin mode.
I've never seen like a subtler work from Tilda, and like maybe those are out there.
For sure. Like, especially I think her earlier work. In as much as the art house has superstars, she's up there with Willem Dafoe. It's sort of like critical darling can do no wrong, really.
I've only seen her in things where like she's dressed up as an old man or as an old woman or is like the head witch in a coven.
When you see her early work, it is interesting how much more you see of just like a natural talent and beauty.
Maybe that's something to investigate in the future.
Even though her earlier work still tends to be like quite stylized stuff.
I guess that's all to say that like this fits in the peg of broad Swinton.
You're a big Wes Anderson fan.
Yeah.
You've never expressed any problems with her in those movies. I think like for me, if anyone is gonna like sell me on the buffoon humor that Bong Joon-ho seems to like, Tilda Swinton's up there.
I don't know if she'll be like over the top, but she'll be doing a lot.
Yeah.
I guess
I'm
like,
happy to have her be the Effie trinket of this world.
Yeah. One of the parts of Parasite that I did like was the wealthy mom, and she seemed to kind of hit the comedic tone better. From what I know, it seems like that's kind of the mode Tilda is in this.
Yeah, you're right. I guess I came away from Parasite broadly underwhelmed, but there were things about it that did genuinely impress. I'd say Rich Mom and Poor Daughter were the two performances I thought were best.
Do you have any predictions for like set pieces?
I hope there's like a conservatory car or like an observation car. And like they're in a fist fight. Okay. Chris Evans and somebody. Tilda Swinton, she's in a mech suit.
Wow.
And like a pane of glass breaks. And it's got jagged edges, and also the freezing cold Pangea wind is coming in. Pangea doesn't mean cold.
No.
It means one continent.
Okay.
Plants are freezing, and then something else happens.
Do they perhaps spill out onto the exterior of the train for this fight?
No. Sorry, I'm not going to yes and that.
My prediction, somebody leaves the train and is like on the top of it for a little bit. Maybe just to get into another car.
Yeah, or maybe they have to do some kind of emergency repair. Maybe that's like, there's probably going to be...
That won't count.
There's probably going to be like an inciting incident for the class.
Uprising.
Yeah. Maybe it is that somebody has to go do a dangerous repair.
I wonder how long this train is.
It's got to be pretty long. What happens if it gets
I wonder
like...
how big the population of the world is on this train.
Are we meant to think that this train is like it for the world? Because like that would suck.
I think that's what we're meant to believe.
Oh, I don't know how that's going to gel with like
maybe that's what
buffoonish comedy. Battlestar Galactica didn't have a lot of buffoonery, and it would have like a similar population base of existing humans.
People in like the higher class, there's going to be a lot of like, oh, what are these people doing here? I don't know you.
Plutarch Heavensby will spit out his future tea. It'll have like flavor boba in it that release a CGI scent bubble.
Maybe.
I want that kind of like, I want like future tea. I don't want just like regular boring rich earth people. Do you think the populace, the lower class, will be victorious in changing the social order of the world they're in?
You think it's a
My
sure
guess
thing?
is yes. I'd say
I mean, it would be like a statement if they didn't.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd like, that would be...
That's probably the movie that I would like this movie to be. I'm looking for a pessimistic movie. That's where I'm at during this quarantine.
I'd lay some money that Chris Evans doesn't get like hanged at the end of this. The question I'm wondering is, do they leave the train at the end?
I don't see how they could. It's so cold out.
Even if they win, they still have to live
Maybe
on
it's
this
not
train.
cold out.
Oh, and it's like a false... It's like fakery?
Ooh. That's also kind of dumb.
They break the window,
And it's like a projection. It's like a Disneyland ride.
it's like all Disneyland rides made in the last 10 years.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Ugh, as fun as all the rides. So when it comes to the ending, the sky's the limit.
Those are our hopes and expectations for Snowpiercer. Sean's serving the hands now. We're gonna hop on a train and take a spin around this dystopian world of ours.
Yeah, it'll be fun to escape to another dystopian world.
One where there's an uprising and maybe hope.
Yeah, but they're also similarly trapped in one small fixed volume of space. You could pause and watch along with us if you like, and we'll see you on the other side.
7 minutes allotted for your speech, sir.
This is so disappointing.
C'est trop décevant.
Es una muy grande desilusión.
No, we don't need all that. I've only
Happiness is a cup of
It's
tea and a new magazine.
On the handle it just says happiness. And I really need that right now. You really need the blue nose.
Yeah, it's the pride of Nova Scotia.
Speaking of blue noses, the nose of the Snowpiercer must have been cold, huh?
That's true, Mike. Very apt. We are in the tail section of YouTube. Welcome back. Where you at? How you feeling?
I was like, okay. It was a little boring.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't think I was going in this movie with like crazy high expectations, but it didn't deliver on the class stuff. It didn't deliver a compelling dystopia. The action was very bad. I was gonna say it's a mixed bag, but it's not.
It's bizarre to me that there isn't a working class.
Also true of Parasite. It seems like he only really knows how to tackle class from extremes. It doesn't make any sense for the world of this train, as we should be learning from rampant wealth disparity in the real world. It's much easier to maintain equilibrium when what you're trying to balance is center weighted.
Have it be a little more subtle and let the interactions between the people in different positions of power like play out. I kept wondering, how did these people get on this train? Who decided this is the system that is necessary?
You were talking in our Cats review, at a certain point you just have to go along with it if you want to enjoy the movie at all. The concept of the movie is that it all takes place on a train.
But if you do,
that's why they have to be on the train.
But if you do that, then it's just a pretty uninspired action movie. At the end, they really try to make a statement about society. It's not built on anything.
There's a heavyweight pathos dump in the form of a very long monologue. You've given me nothing to make me care about Curtis, Chris Evans, the whole movie, and then you like put a spotlight on him, and that totally sets aside the timeline incoherence. The train celebrates his 18th birthday during this movie. He seems like he's at some point in his 30s. I don't know what the actual age difference between Chris Evans and Jamie Bell is, but I'd wager it's not enough to account for like one of them being a newborn infant and the other being a grown man.
If you're gonna try to tell me this story of this train is the story of humanity, you have to think of these things.
It never felt true to life, either in a literal or allegorical sense. In the pre-session, we were talking about how some directors work better within a little bit more constraint.
Sometimes you need that. One of my favorite shows is The Twilight Zone. That's the whole thing, is that marriage between this populist genre work and then ruminations on society. This is not cutting it.
Yeah, this is just kind of...
This maybe belongs on the Jordan Peele reboot.
I'm not seeing the depth of thought or vision that people seem to want to ascribe to him. I went on Metacritic. It has like an 82 for critical reviews.
Yeah.
For a sci-fi action movie, that's high. I didn't look up Children of Men, but it's probably not that much higher.
God, like leagues better.
We will definitely get to some recommendations, because like I've got something for everybody. And that, I guess, is my ultimate takeaway. Bong Joon-ho spent 4 years filming this and another 3 securing funding and conceptualizing it. What makes this worth it? They built the whole set on a gimbal so it would realistically rock. How much time does that cost you? Maybe it sinks into your brain as part of the sensory experience, but the time that it takes to do something like that, wouldn't it have just been better spent making another movie? There's something to be said for the Lars von Trier route with like chalk outlines for sets, or the studio system where you're able to offload a lot of those responsibilities onto an apparatus of skilled professionals.
Going off of the host doing this, obviously a larger budget, lots of practical studio work. It is like an accomplishment that this was made, but to what end? Yeah,
and that just feeds back into my question.
What
like,
made this the story that he wanted to tell?
Yeah, like your peak years as a film director, they're so precious. Like you don't get that many. You've worked so hard to get there. That's what you're passionate about. You're going to spend 6 or 7 years making this movie? So checking out Metacritic, it really seems like people are giving overweight credit to very boilerplate basic stuff. How many reviews did I see that mentioned that it was shot from left to right, just following film language?
I don't think that's something to hang your hat on.
It's a starting point.
Yeah.
Every action scene epitomized by the fight with the balaclava guys with the fish. I was just like, oh, okay, they don't want to let me know what's going on, so I'll just know what happened in the fight at the end. Whether it was intended to or not, that kind of like patched over implausibilities of the action scenes. Like that these malnourished scrappers would be able to take down a car of dedicated
like a pretty
gatekeepers.
Why were they in masks? Is that like a way to like focus your vision on the night vision? That's the kind of thing where it's like you're trying to do something cool, like, but like, what's the point of it? I'm sure I could like look up why they're in masks.
But you shouldn't have to consult a dozen secondary sources for a movie to make a case for itself.
The same thing, and I brought this up with cats. There's just like a magic cat in the movie.
Same in this,
There's just clairvoyance.
With the balaclava dudes, I was kind of like, are they semi-clairvoyant? Is that like a thing in this movie?
It's
I think
like
Bong Joon-ho,
one too many things. And it just,
exactly.
It seems so much more like it's just a contrivance to like finish the screenplay.
When you're creating a world, you get to set the terms for stakes and what's possible between characters and forces in your movie, and that's a great gift and responsibility. The Matrix leaves room for clairvoyance, and it even sort of has an explanation for it. What a novelty. This movie is trying to be more realistic than The Matrix. That takes some stuff off the table. Or it doesn't, and you can just be really fuzzy about everything.
I think Bong's maybe not for me. It's a little overrated here. I'm throwing it out there.
Do you have anything nice to say for all the people who hate us right now? Because everyone loves Bong Joon-ho.
Every time we get a movie that isn't a total nightmare, I feel the need to be like, it proficiently told a story.
Yeah, and like that's the bar?
Yeah.
No, it is not.
It was cool that like this movie had Octavia Spencer as an action hero for a little bit. It didn't have to be a big statement though. She gives off such like mom vibes to me. Chris Evans, typical Christ figure, head of the resistance. He has a moment later on where he tells like a very dark tale. He does a good job. The only part where I really felt like he had much to do.
I liked his sort of calm self-assuredness at the beginning, patient, planning, waiting for the right moment. Probably not the easiest thing to have to start a performance on because it's easy to look pretty passive. I liked how the characters discovered that the guns didn't have bullets in them. That first stretch did a decent job of building suspense.
At first I thought like, oh, this could be fun. Like they don't know what's behind the next door. They have a plan and like we get to see it play out. Sort of like an Ocean 11 thing. The
plan only gets them through like 2 doors.
Yeah.
Luckily for them, after those 2 doors, none of the other doors seem to have any security. Yeah. This movie was, according to Bong Joon-ho, the last Korean movie shot on 35mm, but it doesn't look like it was shot on film. Like, I was surprised when I heard that because it falls into the worst of that, like, orange and teal early digital color grading tropes.
You're very attuned to this.
So, you want to do a quick breakdown?
Let's move car by car.
You get a Blade Runner-y
exposition.
In the year, blah, 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 this happened. It's been almost 18 years.
Yes. Since basically the end of the world.
What, like 2 years after?
I think like a year.
When the movie came out. You gotta respect that.
He's obviously trying to say something about like society right now. It's like us. We are on this train.
We start with some like day in the life of a tail passenger. So we get a couple grim, these are bad people scenes. You are a shoe, I am a hat.
They come in and collect a certain sized kid.
This is where the color grading really started. All right, I guess like you've seen Schindler's List and you know that colors can mean things. Bright colored henchwoman after henchwoman. First the tape measure lady and then Tilda. Between the 2 of them, revolution is underway. They're off to break out Nom and Nom Jr. Chip off the old Nom.
He's a former security expert.
With a psychic daughter.
You can tell he's a bit of a wild card.
Then from there, it's straight on to the biggest action set piece.
They enter what would otherwise be empty car filled with a bunch of guys with axes.
I appreciated the kind of like hangman aesthetic. Some of the artistic categories of this movie were notably lacking for a movie in this budget tier. There was some ADR dialogue that was just terrible. All I wrote down is the ADR is terrible. I'll find an example. I will toil in the content mines.
I can't believe it. Cigarettes have been extinct for more than 10 years now.
CGI outside of the train is a little weak.
Everyone's working with some kind of budget constraint. Like, it's fine.
I can go with that. I watched The Mist.
Yeah, but like the sound design, how many times are you going to use the same sword unsheathing sound? Again, just very fuzzy world building, like a pretty dedicated like warrior class.
Must take a lot of like steaks to keep them fed.
What do they do?
It seems like a waste of resources.
Yeah, what do they do between revolutions? Are they the kids' parents?
They're in this battle and they hold their own, but
improbably.
And they've got Tilda captured and she's made a deal to provide safe passage to the engine because basically she just wants to live.
Why does she take her teeth out? Was it just like to look pitiable? I'm closer to you than you might think.
An attempt to show that like, underneath the veneer, like not everything's perfect on the train.
Anyways, fast forward through the scenery. We are at the school car, a convenient midpoint exposition dump, which this movie has some bad habits with. There were definitely some lines up front where I was like, I felt like I was at like an improv show and they were doing like scene setting. It's been 5 years since that thing that we both know about happened. Do you remember when that happened?
Wilford's supposed to be this visionary who saves humanity, but like, what does he want out of it? He just wants everybody to just be like,
he just wants to live on a train and run the trains. He's liked trains since he was a little choo-choo boy, and he's got a train to call his own, and that's it. That's all we get.
I guess he's like psychopathic in that way.
Yeah, he's like truly just fixated on the train. The literal video presentation ends, and that scene turns into a shootout, and
the Eggman comes. Everybody gets an egg.
Yeah.
I wouldn't fall for that.
Michael hates eggs.
I hate eggs.
The tail section gets massacred. Everyone's hiding a gun. Everyone's packing heat. School mom, the Eggman.
I did appreciate this is a movie where there is a cost to these battles.
Yeah, like this movie really is a bloodbath. But it's just like all about people I guess we're supposed to care about because they're scrappy and their beanies are tattered. Give me something. Yeah, and then from there we're out of the resource section and we're into the real first class. A lot of like fine hardwood and spiral staircases, and I guess opulence will just look like that for the rest of time. Say what you will about the Hunger Games, at least it swings for the fences. Whether you think the future that it's set in feels super plausible or not, there's no denying that it's like
it has a vision.
Set in a future. The facial hair is not of this age.
It's not just rich people with their current tastes. On the train.
Yeah, it looks like this haunted bar from The Shining, and they even use the song from The Shining. What is this for?
That feels like one of those things where, the movie was influenced by The Shining.
But that's not what the movie did.
Like we've talked about, they're kind of like zombie-fied.
Which is like something that he seems to like to do with his rich characters.
Anyways.
Yeah. So yeah, we really kind of like make a beeline through the sort of like residential and social heart of the train.
Mostly social.
We are at a movie nightclub. I feel like Basic Instinct is still like the gold standard for clubbing scenes. I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure.
I haven't. I think that's definitely got to be on our list.
Oh yeah.
The first and the second.
Basic Instinct 2 is trashy and outrageous.
Anyways.
Yeah, Curtis and crew are at a nightclub that is even more garishly lit than this current set. It is a nice touch that it's New Year's Eve. So.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. No time to dance. Got a mission. Which I guess brings us to the car just before the engine with the bridge.
Right.
Like Star Wars, they always battle on like a bridge.
It's like a mood-setting antechamber. We're back to the yellow and teal.
So
it's the return of the color grading.
Nam is basically refusing to break them into the engine room because him and Yona have been able to tell that it's starting to thaw. They basically want to break out of the train and try to live out in the wild.
This train grinds to a halt for back-to-back monologues, which we've already covered.
It's time to get to know Curtis a little bit better.
Yeah. Welcome to the Actors Studio. So what happens next? Boom! Right? Oh no. The lady lets the... Yeah.
So yeah.
The Oompa Loompa lady lets them in. To
Oompa Loompa lady?
Yeah, because she's very short and yellow.
Okay. Alright.
And she serves Oz.
It's mixing your childhood stories. Fuck. We finally get to meet the great and powerful
the choo-choo
boy.
It
was funny. Ed Harris being the guy at the end who has a larger scope of vision than anybody else in the movie. It was very like Truman Show. I wonder if that's why they cast him.
Never had the pleasure.
Really? I like the Truman Show.
I might too. He reminded me of like the Colonel Sanders dude in the Matrix movies. At the end of the third
Colonel Sanders dude?
At the end of the third one, the architect.
Wilford
weaves quite a tale.
Yeah, he gives this revelation to Curtis that basically Gilliam has been in on this plan the whole time. Reflecting on kind of something Tilda says about the aquarium earlier in the movie, the train was designed to be this like perfect ecosystem. Everybody has a role to play. It's like, what purpose is he spinning that the tail section has?
Good question. Because, like, they're not really used for labor. They're occasionally harvested for, like, a violinist or a suitably sized child. It doesn't seem like they're really working.
They've developed into a scenario where Wilford is using the children from the tail section to run the machinery.
It would take a lot of foresight. Eventually, parts of this train are going to break, and some of those parts will be the shape and size of a 4-year-old. That won't require the power of a piece of steel, but just a 4-year-old boy.
Like,
A child is not a gear.
We're gonna go with it.
Or a meal, Curtis.
Tisk, tisk. It's so ambiguous about the details of it and tries to make you feel like you're experiencing some revelation at the end.
I don't understand why he, like, Gilliam means the world to him. He altered the course of his entire life since the time they met. And his final piece of advice is don't trust anything he says. When you meet him, cut out his tongue. And Curtis just does not listen.
I combed through like IMDb and Wikipedia trying to be like, oh, it's not clear what's going on at the end. And everybody just like is taking it for Wilford's word, which...
But like, why would you?
Wilford has made an offer to Curtis to be like, this all can be yours, Charlie, this factory. I guess the idea is that to him, the tail section has been almost completely obliterated. So, like, why not? Don't really understand why it appeals to Curtis to just, like, maintain the status quo.
The classic flawed logic of collaborators throughout history is that, like, if you just work within the system, you can improve it from within. And then, like, power
Maybe that would have
corrupts.
been a more interesting ending to this movie. Or he could just listen to Nam, take over the engine.
And then
Castrated.
Orderly disassembly.
Yeah.
And a next phase to move forward. Like,
but instead,
something
like, Curtis,
they do on Battlestar.
Curtis makes a bunch of decisions that don't gel with what we know about the character.
I wanted some payoff for the, like, hey dude, it's melting out there. It would have maybe been an interesting character flaw in Wilford that he's so tunnel vision focused on keeping this train going that he shuts out any other possibilities. Like a lot of religious zealots and figureheads, he doesn't want to hear that reality is changing and he might have to adapt to it. He realizes he's going to start losing his grasp on this society as, like, children start looking out the window and seeing, like, hey, teacher, the snow's melting. And then the teacher would have to be like, no, that's just an optical illusion because of the speed of the train, right? Like,
yeah,
that's sort of like,
it's just like
recursive buy-in that religions need to perpetuate themselves.
Yeah.
But, like, don't worry about it because as long as you can put out film essays on how it's a Christian allegory, that's, like, all it takes to get your movie shown at cons.
It's a shame that this movie didn't nail it.
Like,
it's not a bad premise. It is, like, unique and... like, there's things you could have done here. Again, like, there is room for a TV show to develop this idea into something more interesting.
If you're going into this very firmly on Team Bong, you could interpret some things more generously than we are. I don't feel like we're being unfair. I don't even know if philosophically Bong Joon-ho agrees in part or full with Wilford at the end when he says balance exacts a toll. It's only like blood sacrifice that keeps the balance. Society needs crises to purify itself. That's a pretty fucked up worldview to hold.
Like what these like uprisings results in is just people reaching the top and then just like sublimating back into the structure that's already been built.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so, like, Yona comes in and reveals to Curtis that, like, Wilford is using the children from the tail section to continue the operation of the engine, the perpetual engine. He is
a bad man after all.
Yeah.
He wasn't justified in running this grotesque contortion of a societal hierarchy. No!
So, like, Curtis sacrifices an arm in saving Timmy, right?
Which is very sloppily edited.
Yeah.
It felt like Venom, where they were trying to dodge the R rating.
Oh. Never had the pleasure.
Oh, well.
We'll wait for the sequel.
And that's it. We're at the end of the movie, the train goes boom, and they see a polar bear.
They set off the chrono to blow a hole in the side of the train and it cause an avalanche that destroys all of the train.
I think we're meant to believe it's just the two of them.
Yeah.
Although we don't see anybody else.
True.
And we don't see Curtis. He's just out of the movie.
So they're trekking out and they see a beacon of hope. Life finds a way. So even though Snowpiercer has been wiped out, there is hope for humanity still.
Yeah.
Even though this polar bear might just eat them.
Or whatever.
So yeah, that's our feelings on Snowpiercer. And Bong Joon-ho. That's a no.
I look forward to our first dislikes. God, I hope this review never makes it to Reddit.
I'm sure people can pick apart, like, oh, didn't you realize, like, they mentioned that the chemicals cause clairvoyance or whatever, but, like, you gotta communicate that to your audience effectively.
Again, you can say that this movie was, at the very worst, fine, and that I'm being too hard on it, but you know what's, like, just fine most of the time is daily life, and I want my movies to be something different. You can always say, who needs another rom-com? Who needs another war movie? Like, there are already so many good ones. But, like, when the next great one comes along, it always feels vital. And that's something that you could say about Children of Men. I don't know who would say that about this. Like, why does this movie need to exist? I haven't seen Mortal Engines, but, like...
mediocrity doesn't cut it. At the very least, like, have some interesting ideas that, like, maybe you don't execute 100% on, but like you're trying. This seemed like an adaptation of something that like wasn't thought through fully.
Rolling right on into ratings, I guess it's pretty clear that on my hybrid Michelin system, it's not getting any love. No stars.
I give it more traditional out of 5 rating. Like I have said in the past, this precedence is there. Wasn't for me, so I'm not giving it 3, but it wasn't a mess. So I'll bless this with a 2. 2 shoes on a head out of 5. We've been teasing the whole time some recommendations.
We've been a couple coy boys.
Look at you being all coy. You are, man. You're a coy boy.
So I'll give the most basic recommendation there can be. We already talked about it in the pre, but The Hunger Games treads very similar territory to much better effect.
This movie, the characters were operating from archetypes like the reluctant leader, and Hunger Games operates from like kind of some stock archetypes as well. Does so much better by them.
And I think pulls out more of what's going on in society right now in terms of how the media treats people, the way that we like tear down figures.
It does some really cool stuff with the lionization of token hero figures.
Yeah, it similarly has this like contrast between the poorer classes and like the 1%ers, how they impact one another,
why they
like
need each other, what the shades of gray are in between.
It's not perfect. It gets bogged down in some like teen romance stuff. There is that element to it, but like you can cleanly segment that part.
Yeah, those movies probably wouldn't have gotten made were it not for that.
I get why like some people maybe haven't seen The Hunger Games because of that.
Or would just want to write it off.
Also, the series doesn't stick the landing.
I would switch from movies to book for Mockingjay. The movies dodge a couple of like the darkest things that happen in the 3rd book, which kind of sells out the arc. But the first couple are pretty great. Jennifer Lawrence kills it.
Yeah, it really is a great performance.
I'd say like it's as career-making a performance as Sigourney Weaver as Ripley.
I'm not a big Elizabeth Banks fan, but like she kills it. Same with like Woody Harrelson.
I mean, Plutarch Heavensby.
Josh Hutcherson. Put me in an island.
Put me in that island any day.
Did you ever see that movie High Rise?
No.
It probably came out about the same time as Snowpiercer. It is similar in that it's confined to like a certain space. It's taking place in this high rise. It deals with like the differences in the classes. It's not as like stratified as Snowpiercer. There isn't the equivalent of the tail section from what I remember, but visually brings it. It's like sleek as hell. I haven't seen it in a while, but definitely an interesting watch. It's entertaining.
Okay, so you like recommend it, but you can't fully
with some
vouch
caveats.
for it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to recommend Battlestar. I've already mentioned it a couple times. If you want like a deep, rich, nuanced, thoughtful, and well thought out story that knows where it's going and really draws you along with it. People argue that it didn't stick the landing 100%. I don't know that I feel the same way. I think I owe it a rewatch. This kind of story really benefits from that ability to develop characters over a span of time. Battlestar just like kills it. The pilot is a little bit rougher than the series, so just power through and you won't regret it. The twists that show takes, flipping the society on its head, are pretty incredible. And it's also like a very powerful allegory for some events and development in society that were still quite fresh and raw at that point. It's very good. But I'd also say Titanic legit has a more nuanced portrayal of class divides than this.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there.
Like, watch The Matrix. If you're looking for that philosophical showdown in the third act, watch Deathly Hallows Part 2. Watch Matrix Revolutions.
I
right?
mean, like we talked about Children of Men. It's not touching on this class.
I mean, it does a little bit, but it's more nuanced and it has a grander vision. And class is a part of that.
Still talking about like a dystopian world and finding a way for humanity to proceed.
Yeah, I'd say it's simultaneously like much darker and much more hopeful.
Certainly like more grounded and interesting and suspenseful journey. One where you really connect to the characters and their journey.
Why they become important to each other.
Cool. Well,
yeah. So
did you mention one of the Matrix sequels?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while for me, so
it's been a while for all of us.
We'll have to do like a series look leading up to the new one.
I would love that.
It's one of those that we have seen before, but I was so young. All right, well, this train's running out of steam. There's no more kids to keep this engine going.
Nope. They're not on none of these floorboards. We keep saying this channel isn't meant to just be like a takedown of movies that we don't like.
I really did feel like I went into this as optimistic as possible, even though I wasn't a big fan of Parasite.
Yeah, same.
And like, if you dug this movie, that's cool. Thank you to anyone who subscribed and is watching this
Seriously.
right now.
This channel continues to be brand new. If you follow up on a recommendation and like it, let us know in the comments.
Or if you have a recommendation yourself. We're always looking for movies that we could talk about.
All right, well, goodbye. The jank will never leave us.